for all of us. It's about predicting where the consumer is going and getting half of it right.
One of the things we want to do is create ads that don't suck.
Embracing change creates great possibility.
I'm Alan Hart, and this is Marketing Today.
Today on the show, I've got Angela Voss. She's the CEO of Marketing Architects. On the show today, we talk a little bit about what Marketing Architects is. They've been a sponsor of this podcast in the past, how they're using TV and an all-in inclusive version of TV for marketers and advertisers that would like to use it to increase their reach. We'll also talk about a recently published report called Reach, Revenue, and ROI, 3 Principles for Effective TV Advertising. And we'll pull in a bunch of analogous types of studies that have been done. And you've heard me talk about like the long and the short of it from Les Binet and Peter Fields and IPA in the UK, as well as we'll talk about our constantly favorite subject of Mark Ritson and Byron Sharp and much, much more. We'll talk about how TV should be thought about differently today and why and what types of companies should be thinking about it. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Angela Voss. Angela, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alan. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It should be a good one. But before we get into the business side of this, I hear I should never challenge you to a one-on-one pickup basketball game.
Well, I think today you absolutely could challenge me to a pickup game and you'd be just fine. But I did play basketball from second grade through college. I played at NDSU in Fargo. It was an amazing 4 years of my life. I will say, though, it got off to a bit of a rocky start. Both my first game of my freshman year and my last game of my freshman year were really embarrassing for different reasons. The very first game I ever played in, you're all like excited and like just, I mean, even if you just go out on the court and just don't, do something dumb, it's going to be fine. But I definitely lost my shoe in the first game. And so that was sort of embarrassing. And then the last game, for a more heartbreaking reason, we actually played in the national championship that year. And we were up by 20 at halftime and lost in overtime.
Oh, no.
Tragic ending to the freshman year. But great experience, though.
Yeah, no, it sounds phenomenal. And she is not as accomplished as you yet, but my 15-year-old daughter is big into basketball now, and I hope she sticks with it. So she's
absolutely, yeah. I think just athletics in general are so great for much beyond high school and college, in college, like in your adult life, your professional life. There's just so much you can pull from it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, let's talk about you and business. You are now the CEO at Marketing Architects. Where did you get your start in your career, and how'd you end up as CEO at Marketing Architects?
Yeah, I majored in mass communications at North Dakota State. And my first job out of college was in digital marketing, actually, which was helpful later in my life. I worked there for 4 years, and then I ended up joining Marketing Architects in an entry-level role. This is when we were solely operating in radio. About a year after I joined, our CEO announced that we were going to enter the television space, and I have always had a love of a new challenge, and so they pulled me over to the TV side of the business, and I worked for many years helping to build out our team and determine how we were going to compete with differentiation, mainly on the media buying side of things, and ended up sort of running the TV side for our media platform until about 2015. And at that point made the leap over to our client management team to lead that team, and did that until 2023 when I took over my current role, which allowed our prior CEO and founder, Chuck Engel, to step back into an executive chair position for our business so he can focus on some other things as well. So it was all, just really organic. We're about 125 people. And so we can be a bit scrappy and chart paths throughout the organization that make sense for the business and for us. So it was super fun.
I love the fact that, I mean, you started sort of at the bottom and worked your way
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
You know the business in and out, most likely. So that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And congrats. I mean, 2023, that's this year. So
Yeah. Yeah.
congrats on the new role, new elevated role.
I know. It
Um,
feels like it was just yesterday, but somehow it's August. So it's like it's flying by.
It is. It is.
Hmm.
Well, I should say as well, thank you for being a past sponsor of Marketing Today.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd love for you to share just in your own words, like what does Marketing Architects do and who do you guys work with?
Yeah, certainly. We have been around as a business since 1997. Today, we operate solely as a full service TV agency. We place in both linear and streaming, but as I mentioned before, we got our start in the radio space. We were founded by a statistician, which I think in itself likely helps listeners understand kind of how we're wired, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
data focused, highly accountable. We look at TV as a space that is great at driving both immediate sales lifts as well as a real sustained long-term impact for businesses. And we have our entire model wrapped up in doing that successfully for our client partners through an offering that we call all-inclusive TV. And essentially that means our clients only pay for their media budget. And we as a business look for brands that are the right fit for us to invest our capital in all of the other necessary elements that will drive TV success. So that's everything from strategy development and brand positioning to creative concepting, pretesting, full production, conversion tech to ensure that we're not just driving a response, but we're driving sales. And then, of course, all the measurement tech, both our own as well as third-party attribution to ensure we understand the impact we're driving and can optimize and scale effectively. And so it's quite different from a traditional agency model, but its uniqueness really is what gives us the ability to drive disproportional and transformational business growth out of a channel like television.
I love it. And we're going to talk a lot more about TV advertising. But I mean, I love the model and the fact that it's from a buyer's perspective, a client perspective, it's pretty easy. Like
Yeah, it is a lot
like
more simple.
and all in one, including the measurement component. That's pretty attractive. Do you find yourself attracting a certain type of business? I guess, for lack of a better way to say it, is there like a profile that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, they're all national players, e-commerce offerings. Some of them have brick and mortar as well. Most of them are direct to consumer. We do have some, more CPG based stuff as well, but they're all focused on transformational growth. A lot of them are have maybe never been in television. They've grown up in digital with some of the challenges in digital lately. They're looking to diversify. We're a great offering for them because we make a bet on them, right? We lose with every single pilot that we put out there. We have to have a lot of confidence that it's going to win. And we're then, because of the model, centered on the same objective, right? Growth and scale is what we both want. So I really love that aspect of it. And I think it really helps us with really having that centered partnership together. And I think that shows up in our retention of our clients is really strong, and it's very different. But once they understand it, they're like, this makes so much sense. And the traditional agency model is so broken and has been for a long time. So it's a great win-win.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, you just published a report. I think it's titled Reach, Revenue, and ROI, 3 Principles for Effective TV Advertising, which used your own data and case studies. Tell me what led to that report and why now?
Well, I think there are a lot of pendulums in life, right? And I don't think marketing is really exempt from that. We believe that top versus bottom of funnel marketing is a pendulum that has swung back and forth from, top of funnel channels being used to drive success for some of the biggest names, some of the biggest brands that we know today, right? The Procters and Gambles and the Coca-Colas and stuff. And then there was the growth of digital, and the pendulum swung that way. And I think it was around maybe 2015, 2016, I came across The Long and Short of It by Les Binet and Peter Field. And I was like, what is this? Like, not just the content, but the empirical evidence that was just
Right.
laid out so cleanly. And if listeners haven't heard of it talks about the struggle between managing immediate response and developing a brand for the long haul. And a lot of times marketers see short-term online metrics as the measure of success. And we've definitely had clients, in that space and talk with a lot of prospects in that space, but that can really threaten long-term achievements. And so anyone who's involved in the complex task of developing and evaluating multi-channel campaigns needs a real clear understanding of how short-term and long-term results can vary. And so we sat with this for a long time and debated it for many years too, because we were so performance focused coming back from, Chuck being a statistician and being really rooted in performance marketing. But we realized that we too, when we took a step back, we're seeing what the IPA was reporting through Les Binet and Peter Field's report and felt compelled to share that story. There's quite a bit of published evidence overseas. They've done a great job, especially in the UK and Australia, but US is lagged behind a little bit. And so obviously with our role in television, it gives us a lens to be a bit of an evangelist on the topic.
Yeah. No, I love that report, the long and the short of it. And you mentioned Australia, some of the stuff that's come out of the Ehrenberg Bass Institute.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Byron, of all folks.
Who makes a name for himself in more ways than one.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I think my favorite characterization of him is from Mark Ritson, who calls him the Dark Lord of branding and marketing.
I know it.
So, but yeah, I mean, it is funny that and as an American, a little disappointing that we're always behind the UK.
Yeah, I know it.
But kudos to them. It's really important research and really important studies, and something we talk about actually pretty frequently on the show is the balance between long and short-term marketing. Well, tell me a little bit more. I know one of the concepts that you talk about in the report is this notion of reach over tight targeting. How does that apply as you apply it to TV, and what does it look like when it's done well?
Yeah. So when we think about broad reach marketing, right, we're referring to those campaigns that are, crafted with the intention of connecting with vast numbers of people. And we find that broad reach is often disparaged in this digital age, right? Where advertising can be so meticulously targeted to those most likely to become customers. And we would never claim that targeting is a bad strategy. But we do feel that reaching wide audiences is incredibly important for a couple of reasons. The first is to build what is referred to as mental availability, right? When you're targeting growth, you will invariably exhaust your target audience. And so to continue growing, you need to appeal to those who aren't already interested in buying. It's about making your product the first thing that comes to mind for consumers when they're in market for a product or a service like yours. The second, I would say, would be the inherent accuracy of hyper-targeting. With digital marketing growing more complex, the effectiveness of overly targeted ads is really being called into question, especially lately. And I think the crux of this problem lies in the fact that the evolution of digital advertising is just making it, more challenging, I guess, to target the right people. And then I think the third and probably most compelling is just that more reach just simply translates to more opportunities to convert, right? And a lot of times you have brands that are coming into television specifically out of digital, and they're so accustomed to target, and find the science behind response and conversion. And then they come to this top of funnel channel and want to do the same thing. But the idea is that broader reach gives you a greater chance of conversion simply by exposing your brand to a wider audience. And I think that the reach focus objectives in thinking by a lot of marketers is just fairly antiquated. Those digitally native brands that know hyper targeting as their bread and butter. But what I love about television is it sort of resets the opportunity landscape. We've tested and refined in digital, and then we come to a channel like television, and we had to let go of audiences or demographics or folks that maybe weren't working in digital, and it allows us to open the net back up. And in a lot of cases, we see that be really impactful for
Mm.
brands to sort of reset what that opportunity could look like. So, but you talk to a lot of marketers. I'd love like your take on it too. Do you think that the marketing world has leaned too far into targeting?
Oh, for sure, for
Do you?
sure. And unfortunately, I still feel like it's the louder voice in the room, at least in the US. And I don't know how we get them to be quiet. um, maybe it's more publishing of reports like you guys are doing. It's showing more data, more results focused. But yes, I totally agree. I totally
Mhm,
agree. There's this obsession with, I think, the perception of efficiency that
mhm,
targeting provides you, and it is coupled with the channels in which you can do it, highly effectively, or perceived as highly effectively, comes with
mhm,
measurement. And I think coupling the ability to buy broader reach media
mhm,
and the measurement component may actually be the holy grail to get us off of this argument. but
mhm.
but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I think your offer that you've got in the marketplace, like what you guys are doing, is pretty interesting approach.
Well, and I think a lot of it's tied to cost too, right?
Yeah.
So if on a CPM basis, you're looking at the ability to center your message towards those that you think are most likely to convert, that
Hmm.
might make sense. But once you're looking at a more broad, strategy, then you start to get concerned about the cost, which is
Hmm.
another finding from the report.
Yeah.
That's just so important. So it's not that you can pay the same potentially for broad reach as compared to targeted reach. It's that's definitely a component that comes into play. But if you can get the cost right, then you have the benefit of what we would call positive spill, which we see to be very effective. You of course have your bullseye target, but a lot of times I think marketers outside of that bullseye target think everything is waste. And at the right cost, that's positive spill. So that's sort of how we try to lean into it.
I love that. I mean, so tell me, you brought up cost, and
Mhm.
you think about the relationship between cost and ROI, or return on investment. Tell me more about like the balancing act of that that
Yeah.
you kind of walk clients through. And I love this notion of positive spill, but
Mhm.
maybe a double click on how you come to that.
Yeah. I think, we have a saying in our organization that everything works at zero. So when you think about positive spell, if you could get it for nothing, it would be effective. And of
Mm,
course, we can't get it for nothing. But what could we get it for? Yeah, this one, coming from my media background always surprises me how often or how many marketers fail to simply look at the cost side of the media
mm,
equation as a highly impactful lever in making television work. And it's really why we created our AI media platform that we call Annika back in 2018, as we found that the media landscape had just become far too complex to ensure that we were effectively buying with
mm.
human buyers alone. And so today we use both our AI in combination with our buying team to ensure that we are sourcing the most efficient placements, in front of our target consumer. But I think the first topic we covered, lean into reach, can sometimes lead marketers in the wrong direction related to their media planning. It's sort of natural to try to just chase the eyeballs if you're like, okay, well, it's reach then.
Right.
So how do I chase them? And so we end up chasing these big tentpole TV events, award shows and sports programming and network broadcast prime time and all of those options have merit at the right time, but they're also most of the time the most expensive way to get in
Right.
front of your target consumer. And that target consumer also watches a lot of other programming. So well, sometimes for a brand, for business reasons or whatever, we need to be in Super Bowl programming. Great. We absolutely do that. But in order to, on an ongoing basis, drive the greatest ROI for our campaign, we need to be a little smarter about how we target that consumer and how they see our campaign.
No, that makes sense. I mean, balancing the reach and cost equation,
Hmm.
the way you describe it, I almost think about it as a jujitsu effect.
Yeah.
Like it's like, where can I get my target group of my audience that I'm looking for at a discount to some
Right.
degree? Maybe
Right.
that's the best way to think about it.
Yeah, it's balancing, right, those high cost premium media buys with more cost effective ones, and not limiting your media plan to the biggest networks, using a mix of different channels to optimize both cost and reach. And again, with that AI in place, we've never had an instance in which a brand has come to us and we've not been able to gain savings over their prior media buy. And there's just a lot of opportunity there. I mean, if we can cut their TV costs in half, which we often do, we've effectively doubled their ROI.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very
Yeah,
true. If the costs go down, the ROI goes up
ROI goes up.
automatically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. And if you think about, I know there's been a lot of advancements in like just ability to buy TV over the years, but still seems, I mean, like a pretty inefficient process, like with a
Oh,
lot of people involved. And it sounds like you guys have started to crack that nut. So it's
well, I
pretty
think
cool.
especially in the linear side, right? Just it's sort of
Yes.
an
Yeah.
antiquated space, and right, that's exactly like we actually love to lean into something like that that's super complex, and if you can use technology to hack the system a bit and maximize, if we can get in front of a target consumer for a $2 to $3 CPM, and that same
Mm,
consumer is also watching something else that's a 15.
yep.
That's where the money's made for the for the client.
I love it. I love it. Well, the report also mentions like the importance of driving both the sales and the awareness through TV advertising. So, like, can you give us some examples on how brands can like manage that balance, if you will?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Mark Ritson earlier. I'm sure you're probably familiar with his coined bothism,
Oh
right? The
yes,
the
yeah,
strategy of simultaneously driving both sales and awareness through
yeah.
TV or through any channel really. And it's that balance focus of emphasizing both. So as an example, I would give one of our brands, nuts.com. We've had a lot of brands do this well, but Nuts was a company that leveraged the principle of bothism really well. They didn't just launch a TV campaign to boost their sales. They also endeavored really to build their brand's name in a new category, which was online snacking. Or originally, when they came to us, they were really focused on more baking and pantry,
Mm,
and yet they had a plethora of snacking options. And we just felt like there was an opportunity there to sort of reposition. And so within weeks of launching their campaign, they started attracting new audiences and driving that positive return on ad spend. Their national awareness increased more than 100%. New customers increased by 166%. And they were able to set a new company growth record. But the super fun part is they also use the opportunity to reposition themselves as that online snack brand. And
mm,
after that shift, they experienced 136% increase in their contextual brand saliency, 192% greater ad recognition. So they're a great example in that they were able to boost their sales, immediate sales impact, and simultaneously elevate their brand awareness and really embody that principle of bothism.
yeah. Well, and I mean, you can't get a better call to action and brand name all said in one with nuts.com.
Right. I know. Yep.
It's funny to see them be so successful in light of what maybe have happened around the 2000 period. If you were around then with like pets.com and
Mm-hmm.
other things, but
Mm-hmm.
it's funny that you use nuts.com too, because I won't say who, but there was a large company CMO that I was working with, and ultimately they must have been one of the people impacted, because lo and behold, when gift baskets went out, what was inside but nuts.com packages.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I mean, they
It's
have
funny.
they have really expanded. They're on airplane, you'll
Yeah.
get a little nuts.com peanut bag when
Yeah.
you take a Delta flight. And yeah, they've done a great job of really leaning into the channel in the most, effective way of trying to grow both on the short term and the long term side of things.
Well, and the thing that makes it even, and why I'm protecting the innocent here, is that this same company largely uses traditional big linear TV type
Mm-hmm.
buys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it was just the ironicness of it, I guess, that
Well, and
made me
they,
laugh.
if I recall correctly, I don't want to misspeak to it,
Yeah.
but speaking back to how cost is so important,
Yeah.
I want to say that in their first year, they exceeded share of voice for some of the largest names in snacking that you would recognize. So
Yeah.
I won't call them out specifically who they were, but
Right.
the ones that are sitting on your shelves and your kids are asking for constantly, some of those. So
Yeah.
that's just where cost becomes really important in getting that reach.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, I mean, this is, I think what you guys are doing, and I would encourage everybody that's listening to this to go check out this report. But the bundle and the way in which you guys are getting clients and going to market and jujitsuing your way through the TV landscape, it's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. So
Thank you.
kudos.
Yeah. It's a fun journey. It's really rewarding, right?
Yeah.
Our entire team is so driven and motivated, and seeing the business impact that we create for our clients is just the greatest. So we're really proud of what we've done and excited about where we're going.
I love it. Well, one of the things we like to do is get to know you even a little bit better. We know your love of basketball already.
Mhm.
But my favorite question to ask everyone on the show is, what has there been an experience of your past that defines or makes up who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I think I already mentioned it. It was just such a huge part of my life, the role that athletics played, the hard work, the grit, lots of losses, hopefully more wins and losses in my lifetime, but collegiate sports, especially, I would say, takes an incredible amount of not only physical but mental strength, and I really have to think that's played a role in. I work at an agency, so agency life, like physical and
Yes.
mental strength.
Yes. And just grit to,
Totally.
get through the day.
Absolutely. Yep.
Uh, yeah. So, well, what advice would you give your younger self if you're starting this journey all over?
I would give myself the advice probably to chill out. What's the advice I would give my older self? To chill out. It's just it's a bit how I'm wired. I think there's a lot of us here at Marketing Architects that are, type A, wired for results, and it's probably what gives us a competitive advantage. But there are times when we all need to chill out a little bit, and I think I'm not exempt from that.
Love it. Love it. Chill out. Well, is there a topic you think marketers need to be learning more about, or something you're trying to learn more about yourself?
There's a lot of chatter about this lately, so I hate to pile on, but
Right.
I really wonder where we're at on the adoption curve with AI.
Yeah.
I'm probably biased in one of the best ways in that we did build that homegrown AI media platform in 2018. And so I've seen firsthand how transformational it can be. And the advancements in what's possible since then are kind of immeasurable. So I just really feel it's going to reshape the marketing landscape and create unparalleled opportunities for marketers to enhance customer experiences, optimize campaigns, drive better business outcomes. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. No, it is. I think it will be pretty transformational as well. But to your point about adoption of it, I think there is a lot of chatter about it,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure how many people are actually using it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. There's been
yeah.
a mix. I agree in conversations that I'm having. I went to a conference, gosh, it was probably 6 to 9 months ago at this point. And it's definitely adoption is stronger now than it was then. But at that point, it was still being discussed by some folks sitting around tables as just a blip in time. This is a phase. And I don't know if this is a phase. But yeah, I mean, how quickly is it going to be impactful, I think is one of the biggest questions. And I'm just so passionate about if we can leverage technology to do some of the things that are more mundane and start to dream up what could be, then what can our people do, right? Where can we put that energy? And we have really smart team. So it's a big bucket of opportunity for us.
Love it. Well, are there any trends or subcultures that you're following or you think other people should take notice of?
I get really excited about the discipline of category design.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you familiar with Christopher Lochhead and the crew over at the Category Pirates?
I'm not actually.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So they wrote a book called Play Bigger, and it's all about category creation. Category leaders take 76% of the market cap. And the easiest way to be the category leader is to be first to market. So why not create the category? you definitely know category creators, Uber, Netflix, Tesla, etc. There's a lot of them. But yeah, I guess category design goes beyond just inventing incremental improvements. It involves introducing new ways of thinking and solving problems. And successful category leaders replace existing viewpoints with fresh perspective, attracting a significant portion of the market's value. And so Christopher emphasizes that, entrepreneurs and CEOs should not only focus on building great products and companies, but also on strategically designing the category that they fit into. And that ensures that their innovation is perceived differently from existing offerings, and it sets the buying criteria for the space. So it's fascinating. I love their stories. He has a podcast as well, Lockhead on Marketing. That's great. He's a little vulgar at times, just a bit of a warning, but it's good content.
No, I'll have to check it out. I hadn't heard about it. And, to use another friend of ours, Mark Ritson, he's pretty vulgar at times too.
Yeah,
so.
That's true.
He's been on this show a couple times. But yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I mean, it sounds really interesting. I mean, it's like the blend of innovation, frankly, mental availability and creating a new shelf in people's heads.
Yep.
And execution, like making sure you actually get the results you're trying to achieve. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Well, last question for you. What do you think is the largest opportunity or threat facing marketers today?
Oh man, that's $1 million question, right? I mean, do we know? Like AI, the economy, would your guests in 2019 have answered a pandemic that might be around the corner? So
right.
I think that's the challenge of not just marketing, but business in general. I think that complacency, perhaps, in the same podcast that I share that I might need to chill out, I also give the advice to have healthy paranoia. I think agencies have a constant battle of customer acquisition and retention. We've been fortunate to have 8 years of substantial growth with only a little slight dip due to COVID. So one could look at that and go, why change? We're growing, our clients are growing, our NPS scores are extremely strong, but in this space, our world changes so quickly. So perhaps one of the greatest threats we have in business is just our own success, right? Do you operate with the tenacity you have if you weren't as successful? I think that's the challenge we have as leaders every day, is to inspire in a way that's uplifting, motivating, and maybe with just a slight paranoia that there's another pandemic around the corner.
Yeah. I mean, I love the notion of, do we even know what we're going to face next? And it brings, I don't know where I heard it. I'm sure it's like something related to workout regimes, but the whole notion of like getting better every day, right? Like, how am I going to get 1% better today than I was yesterday?
I love the growth mindset stuff. And just, we're, especially those that are so focused in data and have so much quote unquote evidence to what they're doing is successful. I think it's easy for us to get a bit of like a status quo bias, right? And we talk a lot at MA about wandering and making sure that we're challenging our own assumptions, because we could be our biggest threat. So I love all of that. I think it's easy to get lost in, though. Once you start digging into whether it's LinkedIn or you're over in an IPA report or whatever it might be, and all of a sudden weeks have gone by and been down and who knows what. So that's how we grow.
I agree. Well, Angela, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. I had a great time.
Hi, it's Alan again. Marketing Today was created and produced by me with post-production support from Sam Robertson. If you're new to Marketing Today, please feel free to write us a review on iTunes or your favorite listening platform. Don't forget to subscribe on marketingtodaypodcast.com. Tell your friends and colleagues about the show. I love hearing from listeners. You can contact me at marketingtodaypodcast.com. There you'll also find complete show notes and links to what was discussed in the episode today, and you can search our archives. I'm Alan Hart, and this